So I in all of the interviews I've seen of you, you have said that your interest in this is primarily because you're such a sci-fi geek.
Yeah, I am a massive science fiction fan.
What particularly in books, movies, video games, what compels you about the genre?
For me, it's the idea that in comparison to fantasy, where in fantasy everything that happens, it's pretty much impossible physically and just, yeah, it's impossible. Whereas science fiction, a lot of the technology, yes, it's set in the future, but they are being developed today, and it is, technically it's possible. Like, it may be 10 years, it may be 100 years, but someone's gonna see this come into play, and you never know, the same sort of story may play out.
And what was your favorite sci-fi movie growing up?
I think it's got to be The Matrix. I mean, yeah. Star Wars, yes, that's definitely got to be in terms of in childhood. But The Matrix is the original. The first Matrix is my favorite science fiction film.
Absolutely,
hands down.
A great movie. Ender is a character that spans multiple books, and I'm curious. There's a long history with this guy. Did you consciously maybe avoid reading too far into the series so that it didn't interfere with the story you were telling in this book, the first one?
Well, I've only read Ender's Game. I actually started reading Speaker for the Dead. I can't remember why I stopped reading it.
Right.
But apparently I did, I guess.
You don't want it to probably enforce too much.
True, yeah. I just set 30 years ahead of the events in Ender's Game as well. As
an actor, knowing that these books go on for so long, until Ender is well into his 50s, I'm wondering if down the line one day it would ever be interesting, not just Ender, but ever revisiting a character that you've played. Is that something that's appealing?
I think that would be quite interesting, leaving a pretty hefty gap, sort of 10 or 20 years, and then returning to the character as an older person. That would be cool. I guess it's the same for Harrison when he did Indiana Jones.
Right.
There was quite a big gap,
years,
yeah. But yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Very cool, man.
But the script would definitely have to live up to the original.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad at all. This movie was a blast.
Yeah?
A real blast.
Cool.
And I have to ask right off the bat, you've worked with so many kind of sacred texts, whether it's True Grit or Romeo and Juliet or Ender's Game. It means a lot of things to a lot of people, and it means different things to different people. And I wonder if you approach a character with that in mind, if you know, like this Scott Card's Ender's Game is as sacred to you, the text, as maybe Shakespeare, or do you just kind of avoid that and embrace the script?
No, I think it's important to realize that. It sort of adds a, level of, I'd say, interest. It sort of makes you respect it more because it's so well respected by so many people all around the world. And you are able to sort of open your eyes and see why other people love it so much. And I had such a great time reading this story, sort of going into it looking for the reason that people loved it so much, and I found myself not even looking, just enjoying the story and realizing what it was that everybody loved about it. So to be a part of it is amazing.
The character, Petra, is in a lot of other books. She's in the Shadows books and everything like that. I'm wondering, do you consciously avoid that stuff? Do you consciously avoid getting too deep into the series, maybe reading ahead, because you don't want it to enforce the story you're telling now?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting approach. I always find it interesting when you're doing an adaptation and some actors choose not to read the book because you're given a script and you're telling the story of the script regardless of how close or not it is to the book. I always find that it's, with Ender's Game being so faithful to the book, you're able to look to that as an extra couple hundred pages of reference. So I think for me, it was enough to sort of have just Ender's Game to look to,
right.
And Gavin and everybody around me to sort of just focus on telling this story.
Gavin seems so, every time I see him in interviews and stuff, he seems so wildly enthusiastic.
Oh, man,
and full of energy.
Totally.
It's almost the complete opposite of the Coens, I imagine, which always come across to me as introspective and very, does that change the way you address a character maybe, and the way the performance comes out?
Yeah, I'd say I feel like on most of the films I've worked on, the director definitely sets the tone.
Right.
I remember shooting True Grit and going to set and being either very nervous or just really excited, and being able to sort of just kind of keep that in and just go to work, you know. But with Ender's Game, it was just so much fun, and again, Gavin is so wildly enthusiastic, like you said, and so passionate that was very contagious, and we were all able to sort of catch on and really come together and make it happen.
One more question. So you're currently, you already worked with Tommy Lee Jones in his movie, right?
I did.
So Jeff Bridges, Tommy Lee Jones, and Harrison Ford, these guys could outperform Gruff more than anybody. Who's the gruffest if you had to choose?
Oh man, I knew you were gonna ask that. Oh gosh.
I'm sure they won't get insulted.
No, they're gonna Google this interview and they're gonna see who I said, and they're gonna find me. No, I don't know. I can't pick. They're all
amazing.
Yes. Yeah. They're all incredible. I've had incredible experiences with each of them that I can't choose one.
Right. I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to choose one either. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. So Harrison, you had a wonderfully, beautifully varied year this year with 42 and Paranoia. And I have to say, it all culminated to a movie that I think is kind of token Harrison Ford. It's cinematically a spectacle, but the audience participation is groundly with these characters. Is that what attracted you?
I certainly thought that the ambitions for the film were very high, and that there was going to be a visual world that would be stimulating and unique. But I also recognized in the relationships between the characters, between the character I play and the character that Asa Butterfield plays, young Ender Wiggin, I saw themes and issues in that relationship that were an important part of the story, and I think important considerations for young people and their parents. So I'm hoping that this will turn out to be not just another sci-fi, shoot 'em up, but a family film.
Yeah,
that young people and their parents would enjoy to come to see this, have the experience of seeing Ender Wiggin meet the challenges that he's given, and then have the opportunity for young people and their parents to talk about some of the issues that are part of the telling of the story.
And it's nearly 30 years old, and it's kind of like Star Trek in a way where it predicts a lot of things.
Well, 28 years ago, the author had predicted the internet. Yeah. He predicted drone warfare, and those are two of the bigger concerns, or two of the bigger realities of this film.
It's an important film to come out now, I think.
I think for each generation, there's a number of films that will help young people growing up get a register on the big picture, and I think this is one of them.
I wonder, Graff is a character that spans multiple books. Mm-hmm. Do you, when you're concentrating on one film, do you kind of avoid the material that kind of goes beyond just that story, because it might enforce it in a way that isn't productive to the story you're telling now?
I mean, that's a good question, and I read the script first. I hadn't been familiar with the book. I'd heard of it, but I hadn't read it. And the more I went back into the book, the more I became interested in that story. But what I had to do was be responsible for the for the GRAFF that's in the film script, and so there are things that had to be pruned and left out about GRAFF. But I think that there's an opportunity in the script to create a character that serves this story.